Last year, I made a video called My Favorite Television Shows of 2018. Welcome to my favorite TV shows of 2018. Woo! Before I start, I guess I'll give it a little bit of a preface. I'm gonna have my top 5 list of my favorite TV shows. In this list, I am talking about TV shows that either came out in 2018 or came out with a new season in 2018. That's why maybe in this list you may not hear of a show that I like a lot. That is why. So I should have prefaced this also, but this list is my personal list of TV shows. It may not be your favorite TV show. It may be a show you completely hated. It may be maybe not the best show that came out on Netflix this year, but it's my personal list. So, thank you. Now last year I started at number 1 and went to number 5 because it made more sense, but this year we're gonna go traditionally and start at number 5 and end at number 1. Without further ado, let's get into it. That was a 2-minute introduction. That is like the quickest introduction I think I've ever done in my freaking life. I just had a moment of pure panic and confusion. I had to change my list around, but I think we're good now. I think I'm satisfied with my list now. Number 5 is Elite Season 1. I really like that Netflix is trying a little bit harder to find cool shows that are from different countries. Like Dark is a really good show. Baby, I just started watching, but I nonetheless really like. I really like that they're kind of integrating that more because it's really interesting, especially in the concept of teen dramas. I find teen dramas from other countries a really interesting concept. This makes me sound weird, so I'm just gonna clarify. I mean in the way that you get to see different teen culture in different countries. I just think that's cool. Yes. Like Scum. I love Scum. So I was very interested in watching Elite, and I'm very glad I watched it. Elite is wild. Do you want like your sex, your crimes, your fights, your drug busts, your all the drama? Go to Elite. It does it so much better than shows, some shows. If you're on the spectrum of liking the more gritty, the more dramatic, I guess Pretty Little Liars side of teen dramas, this is much more your type of show. Remember this little spectrum in a second, because we're gonna talk about this side of the spectrum in a little bit. Of course, there's a lot of it that's very superficial and very typical, but it feels very sincere. I feel still very much like I can relate to some of these characters, or maybe not even relate. I can feel their pain, I can feel their emotions. They're all really, really good actors. Actually, a lot of these, this is like one of their first big roles, and it's kind of shocking because they're so talented. Especially the girl who plays Marina. I think she does a really, really good job at this show. I don't know, I really think she's really cool. I just wanted to say that I guessed the murderer. That's actually like a thing I do. Anytime I watch a murder mystery, I always try to guess the murderer, and I've been right pretty much every time. I guessed who Black Hood was at like literally the beginning of the season. I guessed this. I have guessed. I've watched a lot of Murdoch Mystery and I've guessed pretty much most of those because they're so predictable. Okay, I'm embarrassing myself at that point. The only thing I would say about this show, why it isn't higher on my list, is for 2 reasons. First one, oh my god, there's so much intercourse. It's kind of shocking. It's like essentially softcore porn at some points. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. They're all like beautiful people. I can't watch this on the TV. Something's gonna happen and my mom's gonna be sitting somewhere else and she's just gonna saunter into the living room and just disown me. And I don't want that to happen soon. Other reason is just because it's like a little too, it's not my like exact jam of a show. Again, if you're interested in what I have talked about, I totally recommend Elite. Next on my list is Anne with an E. Okay, roll clip. Without a doubt, I really do love Series of Unfortunate Events. Oh my god, I forgot Anne with an E. No! I knew I was forgetting something. Oh no! Yeah, so Anne with an E was just put on my list, a second ago. I think one thing I will say, though, is if you are someone who wants to watch Anne with an E, but you're kind of unsure if you're gonna like it or not, or you're kind of on the fence about it, like, I don't know, you've heard people talk about it, but you're like, oh, those people are kind of nerds. I'm not a nerd. I don't think I should watch Anne with an E. I'm a man. I don't like these girly time period movies. Ooh. Here's the thing. I think why this show has such a big fan base right now, like, this show is a huge fan base, by the way. I think a reason why this show has such a huge fan base is because it's a story about teenagers, and I think this was the first time when someone was re-adapting Anne with an E, or Anne of Green Gables, that they finally realized that it's the story of a teenage girl. And they made it much more focused and centralized on her friendships and her relationships, which, you know, the other versions aren't bad necessarily, but I think this is the first one that really encapsulates what it's like to be a girl in this time, but also what it's like to have cool friends and a crush and to learn about the world. And I just think if you're a person who likes shows like Stranger Things, a little kid adventure kind of thing, you'd like a show like Anne with an E. Anne with an E has some of my most favorite cinematography ever in like any of the, in all of these shows. Anne with an E has the most beautiful cinematography. One, because it's shot in Canada. It feels as though PEI is not just a setting, it feels like it's an additional character in the show. Pathetic fallacy. There's a lot of good pathetic fallacy in this show, and I really enjoy its use in Anne with an E. I think it's beautifully shot, like absolutely gorgeously. If you're watching the show, just make sure to look out for things like the setting, because you'll notice how much it reflects the moods of the characters, the focal characters of that scene. Another thing that I really like about Anne with an E is, like I said earlier, it is nonetheless kind of a period piece. But I think as to why it doesn't exactly have that label on it is because Anne with an E is showing this time period in a non-glorified way. And I think that's really interesting and also very unique to the show because we don't see that often. Anne with an E is set around, well, the time of the new century, and that directly reflects with Anne. Anne is a smart girl. She is again, like the theme song states, she's ahead by a century. She is a modern girl living in times that need to catch up with her. I do love the non-glorified image that the show is taking. 1908, when the first Anne of Green Gables book was published and around when it's set, was a very dreary time to be a person. Now, a lot of people say the show is edgy. I think that is a gross oversimplification of a whole show, first of all. And second of all, I don't think it's edgy, I just think it's realistic. When Lucy Maud Montgomery wrote Anne of Green Gables, it was a different time. Different things were socially acceptable. Now, when you're looking at those things again in a lens of today, those things might uncomfortably change. For example, in the show, which this does happen in the book, the school teacher, he has a marriage with one of his students. In the time, you can kind of understand this because you're like, okay, that's creepy, but like, I mean, there's the time. Also, Pretty Little Liars did it, so like, is anything sacred? But this show shows the predatory aspect of this, which Lucy might have not necessarily thought of when she wrote it, but you can look at it now and talk about it. We can have an open discussion about why teachers were marrying off with students. And a lot of people were very mad about Anne has PTSD, and that's bad. Are we seriously not gonna think that a girl who was in house after house, orphanage after orphanage, do you really think she's just gonna be like, oh gee darn, can't wait to live on that farm over there. Oh gee golly sir, I'm so excited. I think if you want a fluff piece about Anne of Green Gables, there are many other versions that you can see. I recommend the anime or the cartoon. But if you want something that feels real, that has low lows, but has high highs, Gilbert and Anne make me want to cry every episode. I can't wait in like season 403 when they like hold hands. I recommend this to parents, to kids, to teenagers, to young adults, to whoever. This show is so general and I love it. Number 3, The Good Place. I'm not watching season 3 because it hasn't come on Netflix yet, so if you give me any spoilers for season 3, best believe you won't have eyeballs. Why is Nutella on toast just the best thing that's ever existed? I don't understand. I think a lot of shows, especially right now in our very morally ambiguous time, a lot of shows try to tackle the topic of what truly makes a good person. And I think The Good Place is the first show that really honed in on that idea. And that's the whole concept. And I think that's really, really interesting. Chidi? Marry me. Hey Chidi, I know you're a fictional character, but marry me already. I like to think that The Good Place is like the ultimate work for Michael Schur. It's his ultimate comedy. Now that sounds really like, oh, but think about it. What has this guy worked on in the past? What has he been a creator for? He's been a creator for The Office, Parks and Recs, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and this is like one of his first shows that he like made himself. This guy has made all of your favorite TV shows. Like, let's just say a little prayer. Now, with a lineup like that, The Good Place feels like a perfect fit, but also slightly away from the mold. I mean, these shows are all lovable and fun, but they all show people in semi-depressing jobs coming together with all their different personalities and just trying to make the world a little bit better and making their lives just a little bit more fun. In The Good Place, that idea is taken to its maximum. These people are in hell and they have to prove that they are worthy to go to heaven. That is literally taking that concept, extracting everything from it, and just bam, Kristen Bell. 3 seasons. I really like The Good Place, and I don't think I have any more points on it, but I think anyone could also watch The Good Place. I feel like if you like lighthearted stuff, The Good Place is your jam. So if you kind of want a little bit of a thinker, I'd recommend The Good Place. Number 2. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is so much fun. I have made so many videos on this, so I feel like I don't even really need to address it. But, you know that little spectrum I was talking about earlier? You know, I was saying that it's like if you like the more gritty teen drama, you're on this side. If you like a little bit more of the goofy teen drama, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is for you. I think it's like, if anything, like on this spectrum, it's like, I think Elite is like, I think it's fair to say Elite is like over here. Chilling Adventures is like here. It's not like completely goofy, but it's also not like completely serious. It's a good like quarter point. I really like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina because they actually did something different with these characters that we all know and love. Especially with Sabrina and Harvey, who were pretty much the constants for all of the comic books and the TV shows and everything. Sabrina is a young witch who is deciding between power and love, which is, I think, a very, like, again, very stripped down, but a very common concept that a lot of young people can realize that they are dealing with. Harvey is a very interesting character in my eyes. I think he's very, very cool. The idea that from the comic books, he was a jock, he was like a football player, he pretty much was always like a football type, to the TV show, he's a little bit more soft. He draws quirky comic book characters, which like, dude, I relate. Marry me. Whenever they do shows like this, I'm always nervous about the side characters and if you're gonna like them as much, if they're gonna be as, like, if you're gonna care about them, and this show actually did it right. I don't think I've seen a show in a hot while that's made the new characters that they have to add to, you know, give the show a little bit more sustenance actually be good. Like, I really like Roz, I really like Susie. I think it's really cool that we're also going to probably be seeing Susie be transgender or gender non-binary, or we'll see. I also really like that they casted a non-binary actor. I think that's really, really cool. You don't see that a lot, especially when they do these kind of things, and I appreciate that the show had done that. Well, I love the set, I love the camera work, I love the motifs. Oh, the motifs. Kiernan Shipka is such an incredibly talented actress, and I love her to bits. I love the wardrobe. It's my wardrobe. Hi. Just calling you back. Netflix, can I have my wardrobe back? I deeply relate to Sabrina, and this, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with it in the future. I didn't like the Christmas episode though, still a little salty about that one, boys. Now you may be wondering why Sabrina isn't at the very top of my list. I think Sabrina is really, really good, but I think it still has the opportunity to be great. I'm really excited to see what they're going to be doing in the next season, because as much as I loved this season, I was still craving more, which I guess is maybe what these TV shows want. They want you to keep watching. But I just hope that they don't fall into a Riverdale trap and they just get worse from here. I want them to only get better. That's my goal for Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Okay, number 1, drum roll please. BoJack Horseman. Now, I'm particularly talking about season 5 of BoJack Horseman because that was the season that came out in 2018. I love BoJack Horseman season 5 a lot. When I first watched it, I almost didn't know what to think. I was almost too shocked about the events that happened in the season. And I think that's a really cool thing about the people who make this show. In the previous season, season 4, we learn a lot more about BoJack's past, more particularly his mother and his grandmother. We learn about the hardships that BoJack has had to deal with. We feel for him, we empathize with BoJack, and we've seen for 3 seasons him being a terrible person. But in this season, people started to like him more. Even at the end of it, we have a little shred of hope for him. He has a sister. And I saw so many reviews and analyses of people saying, during season 4, of people saying, could this be BoJack's turnaround? Could he be a good person now? And then the new season happened, season 5, and everyone was like, guess not. And I think this is exactly what they wanted in the first place. You're not supposed to necessarily like BoJack Horseman. The show is showing us that even though BoJack Horseman had very terrible things happen to him, he had a very rough childhood, that is no excuse for him to be a bad person. This is another show that tackles the concept of being a good person. I think if you're kind of more on a pessimistic side, I'd recommend BoJack Horseman. If you're more on an optimistic side, I'd recommend The Good Place. This show has definitely mentioned sexual assault cases in the film industry in the past, with the whole Bill Cosby, like, parallel. But the newest season talked about things that feel very scarily accurate to what's going on right now, or at least right when the show happened. Well, this season had been created before the Me Too movement, and it got it very spot on. I think BoJack Horseman is a show that people should open their hearts to more. Yes, it's depressing, so if you're not that kind of person, I get it. But if you like things that are a little bit grittier, a little bit more real, you can get past the cartoon animal facades and you can see the hidden truth that is in this really well done show. Also, not to mention, the animation is beautiful, especially in the most recent season. There's a particular episode where all the characters look different than they do, and it is so cool, and it's just very well done. I can't give BoJack Horseman enough praise because it has hit close to home a lot of times for me, and it still continues to be very, very creative with its use. I really like Netflix originals that utilize fully the format that they're on. They know that people are going to binge their show in one day. They know that people don't watch things weekly anymore. And BoJack Horseman uses that. Watching this season felt like I was watching a really long movie. And it was so cool. I think we all know the scene, but there's one episode that never cuts away until the very end. It's incredibly powerful and possibly might be one of my favorite episodes of television. In conclusion, I like BoJack Horseman. Now I'm gonna just give a couple of special mentions. These special mentions are shows that I have started, I liked, but I just didn't finish because I either don't have the attention span, or I'm currently watching them while I was making this video. These are Baby, Haunting of Hill House, I'm really sorry, and Scum Italia, which I'm watching right now. Some other shows that just didn't make it onto the list, but I love them anyway, is Big Mouth, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Dark, and A Series of Unfortunate Events. I'm so sorry, my boy, you were almost on the list, but then I took you away for Anne with an E. My two favorite shows of 2018 that would be somewhere on this list, but both of them did not come out in 2018. They probably came out a long time ago. I don't know. Skins. Skins might be my favorite, one of my favorite shows of all time. It's so good. Seriously, watch Skins. Only season 1 and season 2. After that, stop. And Don't Trust That Bitch in Apartment 23. Why is this like the funnest show ever? Eric Andre's there. What? I love him. It's just so fun. I love everyone. They're so fun. How did it only get 2 seasons? How disappointing. I guess the girl became Jessica Jones and that's like a little bit more important, and Eric Andre became like Eric Andre, but like how disappointing. It was such a fun ride. But I don't think anyone cares about that show except for me, so. That's my video. I hope you enjoyed my list of favorite TV shows of 2018. I'll see you next year.